Yo, what's going on to the hustlers out there? It's your boy T Will. Welcome back to the Hustle Sports Fantasy Podcast. We knee deep in the basketball season. We heading into week 17 of the fantasy season. You already know we here for clarity, discipline, and staying locked in. We here to get dubs. You know what I'm saying? Today we're gonna talk about the week 16 recap, top performers, league shout out, hustlers pickup, waiver wire scoop, and the in the zone sleeper pick. Hustle's Energy Lock Pick while I throw away the key in the fantasy community debate. Hey, I'm here to help you get better. Like I say, we here to get dubs. We ain't here for the hype, not predictions, just trying to get dubs. And as you already know, you sleep, you beat. Let's go and get into it. But before I get into them top performers, you know what I'm saying? Hey, I wanna touch on some of the trades I missed from the trade deadline episode. The first trade was the Warriors getting Chris Stapps presents. You know, they got him for Buddy Hill, Jonathan Kaminga. Uh, that trade did come in, right before the trade deadline was up. You know what I mean? The Pacers traded for Ivica Zubac. They got Zubac. They got Kobe Brown for Benedict Matherin. And then Isaiah Jackson. They got a couple, picks in that deal as well. I like that move for Matherin, though, in the Clippers in LA. See what he gonna do with Kawhi and Garland. You know what I mean? It might be some uptick in fantasy relevancy for him for sure. Kaminga and Buddy Hill as well going to Atlanta, playing with a talent like Jalen Johnson that could up their stock. Timberwolves traded for Desumu. Io Desumu from Chicago. Chicago got Rob Dillingham, Leonard Miller, some second round picks. I think they got three. Yeah, three second round, four second round picks. And Minnesota got Desumu and Julian Phillips. I like that move for Desumu too, though. He a hooper. I streamed him a couple times over the course of the season. We seen what he could do for sure. Mm. So the Knicks, they was able to get Jose Alvarado from the Pelicans. You know what I mean? That's a good move for them. I like that. That adds some guard depth for them, some defensive help too. New Orleans got Dalen Terry, two second round picks, cash considerations. The Bulls also got Yabusele from the Knicks for Dalen Terry, which is how they was able to get Alvarado. Dalen Terry got traded twice. Malachi Branham, I misspoke on this trade. Malachi Branham, Tyus Jones were involved in that AD trade. Branham going to Charlotte, and then Tyus Jones going to Dallas. So it was a little, some key parts in that trade that I missed. And then the Lakers traded for Luke Kennard. They got them a shooter. I'm streaming Luke this week. I like some of the opportunities he gonna have. I know Luca out today, so we'll see how that's gonna work out for him. With being with the Lakers, but they got a shooter, the opportunity there, and then Atlanta got Gabe Vincent in the second round pick in that deal. So those were the trades that I missed from the trade deadline episode. I definitely wanted to touch on them. You know what I'm saying? Make sure I keep y'all, abreast on what's going on, help y'all get them dubs. Like I say, we here to go. We here for the grind. We here to get after it. You know what I mean? So now that that's done, let's go and get into these top performers. You know what I mean? Last week showed us who stayed consistent. You already know it. Showed us who slowed down. We saw who breaking out. Just remember, when you evaluating fantasy basketball performances, we looking for repeatability, not who had a crazy night. You don't chase chaos, you build stability, and that's what's gonna help you get them dubs. Let's go and get into the week 16 fantasy standouts. Second time on the list, Kevin Porter Jr. from the Milwaukee Bucks. You know what I mean? 54-point fantasy average in week 16. He averaged 20.5, 6.4 rebounds, 8.5 assists, four steals in week 16. Had a 54 fantasy point night in both of his games that week. So he having a solid year. He averaging 17 points a game. You know what I mean? He doing this thing, though. He getting buckets. A lot of uncertainty up there in Milwaukee. So KPJ, a nice talent if you got him, if you're a manager of him. The top four, this guy he a staple at this point. Jalen Johnson from the Atlanta Hawks, 64.8 fantasy points in week 16. He the number one ranked forward in the ESPN fantasy points league. He really been on another level this season. He averaged 27.3 points, 12 rebounds, 11.3 assists, one steal in week 16. Had 63, 66, and 66 fantasy points in 3 games. So like I say, I'm just updating his stats every week. He really a staple. But here goes some new blood though. First time on the top performance list for this guy, Jared Allen from Cleveland Cavaliers. 58.3 fantasy point average in week 16. Major work over the week. He averaged 24.3 points, 12 rebounds, 3 assists, 1.3 steals, 1.6 blocks over the week. Hey, bro even had a 96-point fantasy game versus Portland February 1st. He finished that game with 40, 17 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals, and 4 blocks in that game. Sheesh. That's all I got for that one. Hey, shout out to the guy who dropped him in my league because I was able to grab him. So I ain't gonna lie, I benefited from that 96. So hey, appreciate you. Hey, as you know, strong numbers, strong leadership. Let's go and see what we got next. We got the league shout out. You know what I'm saying? Before we go into the pickups, we got our league shout out. I want to highlight our league community, shout out somebody in the league. Usually it's the top scorer, but if you make a good matchup move or good acquisition, I shout that out as well. So, excuse me, second week in a row, the manager of the YNs in the Hustle Sports League, 2 weeks in a row, had the highest point total in the league. He had 13-16 this past week, got a dub. High man for him was Stephon Castle. You know what I'm saying? And we saw that 40, 12, and 12 he had the other night. So it's no wonder why he got a dub, why he was one of the top scorers. He only had 2 matchup acquisitions this week. So I don't know how we let you get this kind of squad, but hey, shout out to you. Great work. You know what I'm saying? You've been managing, been doing your thing. That's why you got one of the top breakers in the league. Shout out to the manager of the YNs. Hey, but I also want to shout out the manager of Espo in our league. You know what I mean? Here go the matchup right here. I got that up late, but I want to shout out the manager of Espo too, though. This could be a matchup of the championship. This could be a championship preview matchup. You know what I mean? He had 1138, so he was one of the top scorers in the league. You see the summary right here. Look at these scores. Look at these numbers. I ain't gonna lie, they got after it. They top 2 in their division. Know what I mean? So this is gonna be a crazy finish. We got, I think, 3 more matchups after this one, after this week. So this is gonna be a crazy finish. But I wanted to shout out top scorer, manager of the YNs, and then my dog Espo. Like I say, both of y'all doing major work. Hey, I gotta salute that. You know what I mean? Hey, but we're gonna keep it pushing into these hustler pickups. Go and get into it. The waiver wire here for the work. Who can help us get dubs? You know what I mean? We here for opportunity, not hype. Remember, hey, this week is a 2-week matchup because of the All-Star break this weekend. So we looking for players, with dependable minutes, roles that fill a category need, production that sustains. As we already know, opportunity beats reputation. First up is here. I spoke about him earlier in that trade. Benedict Mathurin from the Los Angeles Clippers. Now, I ain't gonna lie, these roster numbers are starting to change a good bit. He's coded as a shooting guard and a small forward. He 49.3% rostered, still just under 51% available in ESPN leagues. So he's still majority available. You know what I mean? 25.8 fantasy point average for the season, averaging 31.8 minutes a game. All that was in Indiana, though. So we'll see what it looked like here in LA. But all of that is in Indiana. But on the season, he getting 17.8 points, 5.4 rebounds, 2.3 assists, 2.1 threes made a game. You know what I mean? He expected to make his debut versus Houston tomorrow night, Tuesday night, that is. He only played 1 game in week 16 where he had 39 fantasy points. He had 25 points, 4 rebounds, and 5 assists in that game. I think he's a great ad. I rostered him for a good bit of the first half of the season. He did get banged up a couple times or injured a couple times. So he missed a little time, so I had to make room for somebody else. I hated to drop him, though, because I feel like he really productive when he does play. One more thing to note, though, the Clippers have 2 games this week and then 3 games next week. Like I said, these 2 weeks make up The matchup for week 17 is weeks 17 and 18. So he got 5 games in this matchup. So it's a lot of opportunity right there for him to do some damage for you. Make sure y'all check out Benedict Matherin from the Los Angeles Clippers. Next up, though, and I spoke about this guy a couple times this season, but I really, really like this trade for him, for this guy, Anthony Simons from the Chicago Bulls. I really like the move for him, newly acquired for Chicago. He's 59.7% roster, so he majority rostered. But it's still 40% out there that ain't trusting it yet. But in his first 2 games with the Bulls, he's averaging 32 fantasy points a game, 23.2 fantasy points on the course of the season, averaging 24.8 minutes a game. You know what I'm saying? Like I say, in 2 games with Chicago, he's averaging 18 and a half points, 3 rebounds, 4.5 assists, 4.5 made threes a game. You know what I mean? He got 4 games on the schedule in the matchup. He got 2 this week in week 17 before the break, and then he got 2 more after the break in week 18, which still constitutes his matchup 17. But like I've been saying, I think this trade was a great thing for him. For whatever reason, Boston he was off to a slow start, but in Chicago, it looked like he's getting acclimated. He doing decent things. He got decent production so far, and that's only 2 games in. So I expect that to get better over the course of the year. So Anthony Simons from the Chicago Bulls, make sure y'all check him out. Next up, I ain't gonna lie, I found this guy on accident. This was a gem for me though. Definitely a gem. Will Riley from the Washington Wizards. You know what I mean? He coded as a small forward, shooting guard. He light though, 9.5% roster. 12.9 fantasy point average on the season, 16.7 minutes a game. So over the course of the season, it looked like he ain't really done a lot. But he's a stream to stay candidate for me. And here's why. He's averaging 38.8 fantasy points in his last 5 games. That's excluding Sunday's game that they had. You know what I mean? 19 points a game, 4.6 rebounds, 3.8 assists, 2 steals, 3 threes made a game over that stretch. He scored 52 fantasy points Saturday, February 7th. You know what I mean? He finished that game with 27 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, 3 steals, 1 block, 4 threes made that game. I saw where the Wizards going to shut down AD for the season. Maybe some old news for Trae Young coming up. I see in ESPN he's still projected to return February 19th. We'll see how that goes. But if some updates come, I'll make sure y'all pass that along. But it looked like Will Riley is going to be able to benefit from some of that, for the Wizards trying to shut down and prepare for next season. So we'll see how that work out. It's going to open up more opportunities for him, not just him, but the Wizards wings for sure. I think you should add him now. He's a stream to stay candidate. Check him out. Will Riley, Washington Wizards. Next up, I saw next up, Tari Eason from the Houston Rockets, coded as a small forward, power forward, 35.9% roster. So he's still majority available at about 64%. 27.2 fantasy point average on the season. I did see right before the deadline that teams was calling Houston trying to get this guy, and Houston wouldn't budge. So clearly they love him, and that's why you should love him too. 12.4 points a game, 6.3 rebounds, 1.4 assists, and 2.2 threes made a game on the year. He averaged 29 fantasy points a game in week 16, just above his season average. Averaged 15 points, 7.3 rebounds, a steal, 2.6 threes made a game in week 16. Had 44 fantasy points against OKC on Saturday. 4 games in matchup 17. He got 3 in week 17, 1 in week 18. So it's a great opportunity for him, especially this week in week 17. As you know, Steven Adams out for the year. Tari Eason is a big time ad. And here's another stream to stay guy. So as you see right here, he's not available in my league, but he available in your league. Make sure you check him out. Tari Eason from the Houston Rockets. All right, next up for my Mavs, my dog. I've said this plenty of times. Anytime I bring Gafford up, Daniel Gafford, he he one of my favorite acquisitions for the Mavs because I really felt like he changed the trajectory of the season in 2024. But yeah, he's a center, 42.1% roster, 23.1 fantasy points average over the season, 7 points a game, 5 rebounds, 2.3 assists, zero point 0.8 steals, 1.1 blocks, one and a half threes made a game. Like, he's averaging 36 fantasy points in week 16. See, but the thing with Gafford, though, as I said there, I highlighted all the things he do. He does a little bit of everything. Now, the assists ain't a big part of his game. They don't need him for that. But everything else, he pretty much got you covered. High energy guy. You know what I mean? He really doing his thing. He averaged 11.6, 8.6 rebounds, 1.3 steals, 2 blocks in 25 minutes in week 16. Gafford has been solid his whole career and all the stops that he's made. The only thing with him is availability and health. But when he's healthy, grab this guy, play him, check him out. Daniel Gafford, Dallas Mavericks. Next guy, Jeremy Grant from the Portland Trailblazers. You know what I mean? He coded as a power forward, 38.9% roster. That kind of surprised me. That was on the low end, I thought, for Jeremy Grant, especially given that he's a vet, been in the league, we know what he do. 28.2 fantasy points average on the season, 19.1 points a game, 3.5 rebounds, 2.5 assists, 2.3 threes made a game on the year, average 36.3 fantasy points a game in week 16. He got that, you know what I mean? He had 25 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists, and 4 threes made a game in week 16. 4 games in matchup 17, 2 in week 17, 2 in week 18. So it's enough opportunity there for you to get a dub with Jeremy Grant. And as you see, he get 19 a game. He's productive. He's productive. Make sure y'all change that 38.9, though. You know what I mean? He really shouldn't be available out there in the league. So make sure y'all check out Jeremy Grant. That's a wrap on our Hustlers pickup. We're gonna keep it pushing to our in the zone sleeper pick. Uh this, I'm watching trends, I'm watching what he's doing recently. You know what I mean? I'm it ain't about really flash, it's really about timing, opportunity, recency bias, I guess, so to speak. Colin Murray Boyles from the Toronto Raptors. He 18.2% rostered, 22.7 fantasy points over the course of the season, averaging 8 points, 5.1 rebounds, 2.1 assists, zero point 0.9 steals, 0.9 blocks. So that means he's getting close to one more than he's not. And he's doing that in 22 and a half minutes a game. So he's getting steady work. But if he got more work, it make me wonder, could he do more? He averaging 34.3 fantasy points in his last 5 games, so a tick above what he's been doing over the season. Actually, dramatically above what he's been doing over the season. He's been playing great recently. Had a 50-point fantasy game versus Chicago on February the 5th. Finished that game with 17, 5 rebounds, that is, 4 assists, 1 steal, 3 blocks. It's a testament to how involved he really could be on any given night. Now, he only got 1 game in week 17 versus the Pistons, you know what I mean? But I made this pick for his 2 matchups in week 18, honestly. And he got Chicago and he got Milwaukee. And the thing is, him being so lowly rostered, you can grab him, lock him in, start him confidently. He majority available in ESPN leagues. He's my in the zone sleeper pick. And like I say, if he's available, go grab him right now. Colin Murray Boyles from the Toronto Raptors. Check him out. All right. The Hustlers Energy Lock pick of the week. You know what I'm saying? This is why I throw away the key with. You know what I mean? It ain't a prediction. It's conviction. This is my lock, and I'm throwing away the key. Donovan Mitchell from the Cleveland Cavaliers is my lock, and I'm throwing away the key. As you see right here, first at his position. I mean, I knew he was going crazy, but being first at the position, like, you really doing major work. Major work. 28.9 points, 4.6 rebounds, 5.9 assists, 1.5 steals, 3.73s made a game over the season. He a flat out bucket. He been a bucket since day one. As you know, from the day he started with Utah, he been getting after it ever since. Had a 68-point fantasy night versus the Clippers on February 4th. It's funny they played each other so close to each other after that trade they made. But it sucks though because you couldn't see the new additions in that game. But this the thing. The reason why he might lock the addition of Harden is going to take some of the facilitating duties off of Mitchell. As we know, I think we know Darius Garland is a great talent, but sometimes availability is your best ability. And for Mitchell, this is the first time in his career he's had a playmaker and scorer that's equally on his level. So he should be able to just go crazy. He should be able to take a step back and just focus on being able to score. And if they stagger him in Harden's minutes, he can, transition right into that facilitator role. That should be no problem for him. Because, to me, Mitchell can be a 1 or a 2. And, for that reason, Spider is the Hustlers Energy lock pick of the week. Make sure y'all lock it in because that's what I'm throwing away the key on. Donovan Mitchell from the Cleveland Cavaliers. All right, we here. We at the end. Came kind of quick. I ain't even gonna lie to you. We was flying through it. But it's the fantasy community debate. You know what I'm saying? We close the show with one bold conversation. And fantasy and win. Oh, excuse me. We close the show with one bold conversation. You know what I'm saying? Something I seen on the internet from anywhere. I bring it here. Want to have a banter about it, a conversation around it. Make sure y'all tap in on X, Instagram at the Hustle Sports Network or at Hustle Sports Net. Let me know what y'all think. So the conversation is centered around fantasy winners and losers from the trade deadline. I know for me, I have a few people that stock went up because of the trades. A couple of them was on this list. Anthony Simons, I spoke about him. I think that trade is very beneficial for him. Some guys, man, their careers just is go the wrong way. I ain't gonna say go the wrong way. Sometimes guys' careers just don't shake out the way that's beneficial for them from a team perspective. You know what I mean? He was losing in Portland. He got buckets, though. He got buckets. Go to Boston, winning situation. I saw something about that. They said he was very excited about being in Boston, because of the winning situation. And then he gets shipped to Chicago. Now, I hope they could turn the corner in Chicago. But Anthony Simons, Jay and Ivy, too. I think both of their stock just went up. I know it's a play floating on the internet with Jay and Ivy look like a Shaqtin' a fool nominee. But I do think that traded it to Chicago, especially with Giddey being there, being established, being a playmaker, being able to get them the ball in certain spots to, where they could just focus on scoring and just doing their thing. So I think Simons and Jay and Ivy stock went up tremendously with that trade to Chicago. Kuminga to Atlanta, too. Okay, I got a few. Kuminga to Atlanta, Benedict Mathurin to the Clippers, DeSumo to Minnesota, Zubac to the Pacers. Now, all for different reasons. Kuminga to Atlanta, he finally get his wish to show that he's a baller. He could do what he do. And I think Atlanta is a good place for him to be able to show that. They a fringe play-in team. He get healthy. He go on a crazy run. They go make the playoffs. That bodes well for him. I think the opportunity for him to show that he is a top dog. Now, obviously, Jalen Johnson there, and he's the top dog for Atlanta. But Kuminga, being able to play with some scorers where the defense can't just key in on him. You got to watch McCollum. You got to watch. You got to account for Buddy Hield on the floor at all times. Jalen Johnson, you got to account for him at all times. So I think Kuminga to Atlanta, that's a good opportunity for him. Hopefully, when he gets healthy, that's the main thing. I haven't seen an update on when he'll return, but I think that's the main thing for him. Benedict Mathurin to the Clippers. I like this trade because of the opportunity. No Harden, no Zubac. Nobody's there to get buckets outside of Kawhi. So, and Garland. But again, health is wealth. Availability is your best ability. So the quicker I saw, as we discussed, Matherin making his debut Tuesday night, tomorrow night against Houston. We'll see what he could do playing with somebody like like Kawhi. The Sumo to Minnesota, I like this because he's going from a losing situation to a winning situation, but he also don't have he could just relax and play. Still got DiVincenzo, still got Randall, still got Ant-Man. You got Gobert anchoring the defense. You got vets there. You got playoff experience there to where Desumu can, elevate his game even more by learning from vets and playing meaningful basketball. So we'll see him in April, May, possibly June. We don't know. You know what I mean? But I think this is a good time for like when situations like that happen for players, you see that jump. Similar to when players play on the Olympic team. You see that jump from the year before the Olympics and then the year after they go next level. And then Zubac, I think, goes without saying. The Pacers don't really they syndry their injury season, their injuries that's compiling in this course of this season is just man, you hate to see it for them. Nobody's there to get buckets for them, really. Or if they are there to get buckets, they in and out the lineup. Zubac to the Pacers definitely anchored that team to have some stability. So that's why I like all those guys. So make sure y'all share y'all perspective with me. Tap in. You know what I mean? Let me know who fantasy winners or losers from the trade deadline. Who y'all think? As always, I appreciate y'all tapping in. Appreciate the hustlers. And this is the Hustle Sports Fantasy Podcast. Make sure y'all follow at the Hustle Sports Network, Hustle Sports Net, across all platforms. You know what I'm saying? Don't duck the smoke. Create it. I'm your boy T Will. I'll holla at you.